During the second semester, you'll be starting your concentration for your AP portfolio. Take some time to think of a good concentration idea because it could follow you for the rest of the semester, and it is certainly better to pick your idea now rather than switching your concentration every other week. For my concentration, I focus on architecture. The main medium of choice I decided to use was Prisma markers because in the professional world, most drawings are done in marker and a tad bit of watercolor. This video acts as a tutorial and a summary of what I have learned over the semester in regards to Prisma marker, so yeah. You can use Prisma markers for really anything, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll do an architectural illustration to stay in line with my concentration idea. Prisma markers have a very rough but complete style. You can use them to capture details and all that good stuff, but really they're used for capturing the whole image of a piece, just the characteristics of a piece, its style, its emotion. That's what I believe Prisma markers should be used for. Before you can color, you should trace the pencil lines because markers can't create a definitive edge. Therefore, the black line quality is essential. It shouldn't just be straight lines and straight edges. Rather, the lines should have movement in them. The markers aren't particularly good at blending, so instead of blending the colors together, what you should be doing is layering them one over the other. That is why the pen quality should also have this loose style to it. It shouldn't really be tight like it was computer generated, but rather just it should look natural. One big thing is that these markers bleed. That's why it's important to find durable paper that can accentuate the markers. I personally prefer glossier paper or just thicker paper in general because the marker doesn't oversaturate the paper as much and therefore it doesn't spread apart. Going back to the pen layer, as I said before, the lines should have this feeling of freedom. Don't be afraid to let your pen fly. If you make a mistake, that's fine. You can fix it with more mistakes. The important thing is to make it look loose because looseness is naturalness and naturalness is good. Alright, now that you finished your first layer of pens and just tracing, it's time to start the second layer, and that is where you apply the marker. That said, don't put your technical pens away yet. You're not done with them. You'll need to use them for a final touch-up at the end of the tutorial. With these markers, there's a thick side and a thin side. These both affect the line quality of the marker. As with most mediums, you should go from light to dark. Once you've applied a color, you can't make it lighter with other markers. Now, if you make a mistake with the darkness of your markers or whatever, it's not the end of the world, don't worry. You can use the gel pen inside of your kit, and it can do a little bit of touch up, and you can even color a little bit over them. So, just relax and keep drawing. Once you finish the first coat, it's time to start layering it with darker colors. Like I said, these colors don't really blend that well. The way to make something good is to have a wide range of contrast. Emphasize the light areas with darker areas and vice versa. Just keep layering and layering. The more color there is, the more depth there will be. There are techniques that you can implement, my favorite of which is using a ruler and applying the marker to the edge. This creates a crisp line of marker that plays with contour lines extremely well. Finally, go over your drawing with black pen for final touch-ups. I love adding sketch lines to the piece. Remember, you can only make the piece better from here on out. The lines are meant to further add contrast. That's about it. Markers are pretty simple and have the potential to create fantastic results. Give it a try for yourself. Of course, with everything else, you can only get better as you practice. So if you really think that markers are a really cool medium, just keep using it and you'll just see improvement throughout your pieces. From this video, I want you to take away a few main ideas. First off, the quality of paper. Just make sure to get good paper that's fit for markers. It could be a thick paper, it could be glossy paper. Just pick something that you think the marker will look good on because it probably will look good on that kind of surface. Remember, each pen has a thick side and a thin side to the pen, so just remember that for line quality. Remember the style that the pens kind of emphasize. They don't really emphasize details as much as they emphasize a whole image, so please remember that one. That's a big one in my opinion. Remember that your line quality for your pen should be very loose, very sketchy, very contoury. Remember that these pens don't really blend that well, rather you should be layering. Remember that the ruler is a very useful tool for you to, Mark the lines over the rollers to make these straight but very crisp edges, and if you layer these one another, they actually create this really cool looking, I guess, agglomeration of marker. Remember, don't oversaturate the marker. Of course it will spread and bleed a little bit, but try to keep it at a minimum because the more it spreads and bleeds, the more sloppy it looks. And sloppy is not the same as sketchy. Remember to go from light to dark. That is very basic and very self-explanatory. Make sure to really contrast those lights and darks. This will make your piece pop. Finally, lines will never hurt you. Just keep adding lines. Lines look really good. I can't really explain why, but they just make the piece look more complete.